Is more like it. So basically, what we're going to do here. I'm Mike Sorg. I do SorgatronMedia.com, which is because I started a funny little wrestling show 5 years ago with a couple guys, including Will back there. And no, I don't know who that is in the mask. I don't know what's going on back there with that. So he's on camera. So basically, we started out doing podcasts, talking about wrestling and whatnot. And beginning of this year, I was fortunate enough to dump the internet. I know that like the back of my hand now. That's awesome. Basically, I was lucky enough to be able to upgrade my computer to this wonderful beast here, and had some software laying around called Boinks TV, and decided I was going to up my game. There we go. I had ideas stewing in the back of my head for a while that I've always wanted to do a tech show. I'm a big fan of music. And I like when my best friend says funny things on camera, so we just started that. So I started turning into the Wrestling Mayhem show into a video cast of sorts. You can see some examples of the shots there. Actually, those are for Awesome Cast. And we started plugging in cameras, playing with Skype. We were already on Skype because people were moving away. And we started bringing in people from New York and Texas onto the show to talk on a weekly basis about wrestling. And here we are. So, first of all, who all is doing just a podcast right now? The guy with me. Okay, let's get started.
Are you going to ask who's doing a vidcast? Because
I was using that as all-encompassing. Is anybody doing video right now? Okay.
Ooh, I am.
You are now, as of 2 weeks ago. So, basically, we're going to concentrate what you can do that's more than just you and a couple guys on a camera. If you want to kind of try to take it next level, do something a little different, and depending on constraints and everything. Nothing has to be, a lot of this isn't, you don't need a camera like this. The only reason I have a 3-chip nice camera like this because I also shoot other stuff. All the cameras I have in the studio aside from this I have a digital 8mm that I was using as a webcam basically that has a great lens on it for what we're doing, and a DV cam that's you can probably get something better for it now for about $300. The concern with doing this is, the idea is we're tethered to a computer, we're recording to a computer. It doesn't matter if your camera has some crazy compression on it for the hard drive or flash based, whatever they're using these days. If you have it tethered straight into the computer, be it FireWire or a lot of PCs especially have an HDMI port, that gets a pure signal. Alex Lindsay, who does Pixel Course, he was actually at the first podcast in Pittsburgh. Used to work for Lucasfilm or Industrial Light and Magic, one of those. If you're looking for a sub-$1,000 camera, lens-wise, if I remember this correctly, Canon is great, especially if you're doing this tethering method above Sony. Somehow I ended up with Panasonic. So yeah, equipment doesn't matter. I mean, we're doing Chachi's show on his webcam, an Android G1, and whatever BlackBerry you got from work.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just a $20 webcam that sits on top of my TV.
The point isn't the clear video quality, because frankly his is kind of shoddy. It's about the content, of course, and the personalities, like I can say about any podcast. And we can upgrade them as we go, as we think that this is deserving of a technical upgrade and think the show is going well. Hence what.
Basically, if you want to pay me to do this, technology is the way to go.
Yeah, there you go. Too bad you didn't win that flip cam, right?
Right.
So, just a little example of what we're doing with the wrestling show. And something else I want to touch on here is Skype is amazing. If you're on PC, the beta is fantastic. Because I've had to build I'm pretty apt at building computers. I've gotten a lot of hand-me-downs thanks to people I know that like, I have this old computer, I don't know what to do with it. Turns out it's just a hard drive needs replaced, and I got myself a new computer for free. So basically, I have a stack of 4 computers beside my setup, and they were set up to each run Skype and plug that in through a soundboard like this. I have had to buy a bigger one because I try to put more computers through it. But thanks to the new beta, if all of your guests and hosts are on a PC, which depending on your topic, that's a lot easier. You know, the wrestling show, everybody's got a PC. Awesome Cast, most of the people have a Mac because they work somewhere in the industry, and that that's the option. You know, obviously, I work in video. I have this. But what we do, you see an example there. There's DJ Lunchbox, and this is actually a 17-year-old from around Corpus Christi, Texas, that joins us every week. There's our friend from the Bronx. This is actually right after we tested out the new beta 10-way Skype that didn't go so well. And that's why he's on his own monitor. There's a little bit of what you can expect. You can slide people over here as the focus is on him. I believe this part of the show, he has his own segment where he talks about independent wrestling, so I can pop him up. If 2 people are conversing, I can bring Will up here, so they're side by side, and these guys are over here, and coordinate it. You know, however, it's not a click and drag. You click one and it expands. It kind of, decides what you do with it. Honestly, I can't demonstrate that since all I have is a Mac here today. A little more example there. You can see kind of the switching. And that's the other thing, is the video switching. We're not talking about, for this method, and we can talk about it if anybody has any questions about it later, but we're talking about a setup that's not a mobile setup, not you're filming a bunch of different places. We're talking about more topical discussion-based video podcasts, and basically make the discussion more visibly pleasing. One example of somebody that's kind of taken this to a whole new level over the past 5 years, I think he started actually a little bit before I did, and obviously he has a little bit more name value than I do, is Leo Laporte. Used to be on Tech TV. I was a big fan of him back in the day when I heard he had a podcast, which did start off audio, much like ours. I was pretty excited about it. I was like, cool, Tech TV still lives on. And he's turned it into his own network. He currently gets, and actually he's live right now doing his radio show, because he does a terrestrial radio show called The Tech Guy that's syndicated across the nation. But this is his studio. And he kind of does the same concept. He has people, experts about technology, journalists. He has a This Week in Law, talking about iPads, iPods. He has a Mac show, a Google show, and they're all over the country. There's actually a guy in France that checks into their today TNT. Thank you, Tech News Today. I have so many other TNTs in my head right now. It's like not Tuesday Night Titans. Yeah, so it just takes, he's in Petaluma, California, which I think is just up the road from San Francisco, if I know my geography right. He has a bunch of people. He's actually gotten to the point where he can hire a few people to do this. And he has a live chat, live stream, obviously, has everything in podcast form afterwards in audio. I listen to a lot in audio. I download it, listen to it. I listen to the news from the day before when I'm taking my shower. But when I'm sitting there and working and want something up, just like you want the TV up, you can throw the video version like this up in the corner. It's a matter of choice, We still serve a lot of audio, but for the Wrestling Mayhem show, half of our users have gone to video. For the new ones, like Awesome Cast, and for the music, for Awesome Cast, it's been mostly video. Because people seem to be taking on this type of setup. He's basically doing solo show now, but kind of as more of an example of how visually interesting you can get it. You probably saw in the video I had before how I have these nice old CRT monitors behind me with the Skype feeds. Yeah, I'm kind of stealing that concept, and I'm a little more cheap about it. Let's see if he's got it here. I know it was here yesterday. Actually, yeah, right there. There's a studio. Let's see if I can find the shot. They developed something called a Skyposaurus, which I think is something they mostly invented in-house. Always right off the shot. Basically, they stitched 4 monitors together with 4. There it is in the background. Pause. They basically stitched 4 independent monitors together on 4, I believe, atom-based processor, probably around $200, $250 at the time, but you can probably get the same kind of EPC or whatever now for, like, I think I saw one on Loot for $120 a couple weeks ago. But basically, 1 Skype feed for each computer, so you don't have to worry about taxing the processor. And they have a software, I can't remember the name of it, but the fantastic thing about what they're doing here, and where I get a lot of my tips, is they have a wiki, a TWIT wiki, that explains what all of this equipment is and exactly what they use. So this is where I learn what I do, is seeing what they do and see if there's cheaper alternatives or something I can cobble together on my own. Just solving the problems to get to here. Hence why I have CRT monitors behind me. That's all I can get my hands on, because like a lot of us, we're a deficit podcast. I can't say I don't make money, but it's enough to get me. I was excited when I could go buy 2 pairs of the cheapest keyboard and mice for my studio from Walmart, from the iPhone app that we do. And now, that's like, every couple of months I get something like that. Not to say we're not trying, but as I've mentioned, we don't do this for the money. It'd be nice to be able to support it, so I'm not taking the money out of my pocket. It can improve the show, but we do it because we love the conversation. I do shows that we talk about music, technology, wrestling. I'd be talking with any of you guys here if we share the interest. I do with the guys off show, and that I think is the important thing. If you don't have that core, none of this technology is shit. So, at least for longevity, because it is a lot of work. Let me show you what I use. And there's my stomach again. There you go. This is called Boings. It's a little more. It should be all on one screen, but because of the resolution of our setup here, I got to split up a little bit. This is the basic setup. What you'll have, and there's your preview window. Right now, I have it set up that we have a nice little switcher layer we can stick in here. So there's the camera here is pointing at you guys. This is the layer below, which is just my eyesight camera, and I can plug in other cameras if your hardware allows it. My problem is these great, expensive new iMacs or MacBook Pros only come with 1 FireWire port, and even if it had 2, it would help me. So I do experimentations with the FireWire hubs and everything that don't work out. Pro tip: if you have 2 Sony cameras, they're not going to like being operated on your computer at the same time. If I had two camera sources that were Sony's, actually there's one. Yeah. Here's the 2 models of Sony I have. I believe this is the digital 8 camera, and this is the DV camera. Because they're Sony, there is a conflict with the FireWire ID that's reported to the computer. So typically, if I had a camera here, it would be displaying. It would be pumping through the computer through the FireWire at the same time it's this camera. So if this is a Sony and this is a Sony, anybody remember IRQ conflicts back in the day? It's like that. Some of you guys get that. They just conflict, and they can only handle one at a time. That's why it's nice. I have a Panasonic. I have a Sony. If I had like another Canon, it would be able to work. But I believe that's only because I'm going over 1 port. If you have 2 ports, I think from what I've read, you could have 2 of the same brand cameras, which will be handy, especially if you're kind of married to one brand because that's what you prefer. Realize a lot of my stuff is off screen. Basically, if this was working, the right resolution, you have this. You're able to set up And this is Boinks is Boinks TV are by the same people that did like what was that app? The panorama app that you guys were showing me? Like picture this or something. They do all kinds of weird, crazy stuff. I picked it up off of Mac Heist for $40 a few years ago. They have 2 plans. You can get a sponsored edition that sticks their logo at the end of every video for $200, and full version for $400 or $500, probably $400 actually. And this is a Mac-only product. There's another one called Wirecast that I'm actually looking at. It's actually cross-platform, so if you're on PC trying to do this stuff, it'd probably be good for you. I think there's other sorts of softwares like this, but these are the ones that come up most often that I've been researching. This taxes the hell out of my computer. Again, if we had a resolution, you'd probably see that I'm running probably about 90-95% of my CPU just sitting here shooting video through here. Partly, most of it is this software. If you have a 3-year-old iMac, like I do, sitting on my desk at home, and you want to do like a 3-camera setup, you're probably going to be skipping. This is a lot of horsepower. But that's one of the considerations that you're going to have when you're looking into video, especially live capture video like this. But basically, how this one's set up is you have all your libraries and devices in here, and like we set up a camera. You set it to be your main one, which is our eyesight. You go in here and you'll have some options. It's not the most user-friendly, but it's better than most software programs I've used. Actually, this is not. Well, if that would work at this resolution, it would be able to select, which cameras are here, and they're identified by these sources here. You can bring in videos. You can bring in a Twitter feed if you want to this. They have a lot of really cool 3D stuff that pops in there. On the Awesome Cast, we have a spinning logo that pops up in the corner. That pops in. I found this iPhone one. Let's see if I can find the number for it. Right there, you can pull up titles. Like there's our Audible. So if guys want to get on Audible, use that URL, by the way. Which letter that is. And you can assign, and that's what I'm trying to figure out now because I can't see them in that resolution. But you can assign them to keys here. So I don't know if you might have done video switching. Like I know a lot of high school programs have like the new shows with the switching. This is kind of you can do shortcut keys to make that a little simpler, other than just hitting the live button that's on the right of that of the layer set up there. All right, I can't find that one right now, but yeah, they have a lot of layers. There we go. They have 3D stuff in here. It's pretty crazy. They have these spinning titles and 3D text, and you can throw a weather map. If any of you are interested in chroma keying, which is when you have the green screen, like the weatherman uses, or the traffic guy, to put stuff behind you, do your Wayne's World, hey, we're in Delaware thing. This program will do it. I experimented with a little bit, just with my eyesight camera. It's not the cleanest. It's about as if you played with, I know HP webcams, and I think iChat will do a scene replacement behind you, and it's never that clean, right? That's basically what I got of this. But if you play with it, if you actually play with some good lighting, and you have like a decent camera like this hooked up, you can probably do a decent green screen if you want to. It will tax your processor. That's why I didn't even go any further into testing, because I knew I would not be able to do it on the fly for our show as we're doing it, because I'm worried enough about reliability. And one problem we had with this was whenever you do crash, it would lose your entire video into the ether. I don't know where it records it, but they fixed it recently with a fix, so you'll at least get a partial file if something does go wrong, which it always will. But let's see. Does anybody have any questions this far? I know it's a lot of stuff. Good. Let's see. The other big thing we do, even before we started doing video, even before we started distributing video, I should say, this year, is we always did a live chat. We started out as a streaming radio show. We would have an AOL chat room or something that we'd invite everybody to, which is really hard when we didn't have Twitter, by the way. But then we had 10 people in it, and it would overload my server that I had in-house.
Right.
But we were big on, we started playing with blogtv.com. Moved recently, since to Ustream. We're actually looking if there's any better options because people are getting really annoyed at those ads that pop up whenever you jump into our chat room, which I think they stopped recently. So it comes and goes. Maybe it depends on their campaign for that month. But I really love when there's a little side comment. I really love when I'm trying to set up for a pro wrestling show and they're selling cleaning products to my people. But free services, you're going to have to deal with that. If you have some money to spend, Vivo has a pretty nice service that's serving us right now. So, if you want something more dedicated without all that other crap, a little more customizable, I played with it. For us, it wasn't the best option at the time. Of course, I haven't tried them in over years. So they've done the stuff I've seen from PodCamp this year looks fantastic. If look at that, it's a prime example right there of what they do. If you think that fits your situation, I think it's a great option. And they'll be on Awesomecast this week, by the way. So, but what I do, since I use Points TV, is look a little bit here. You have to capture your video because there's no easy way to do it from Points TV. Doesn't that sound like the stupidest name for a software program? By the way, that's. I feel embarrassed every time I have to tell people what I use. Let's see. But what you basically have to do for them, and this can probably serve in other applications too. If you're screencasting, if you're doing something where you're teaching people how to use Final Cut or Office or whatever software interests you, screen capturing software is pretty cool. They recommended CastGrabber for this program, which has served us pretty well. It basically takes whatever your desktop or whatever space you select on your desktop and turns it into a camera. Wirecast has something where it does the same thing, but over a network, which I'm really excited about because then I don't have to have 3 of these trying to be tethered to my computer, passing through S-video cards to the camera to pass it through FireWire to do multiple cameras. So there's lots of options out there like that. Cam Twist is the one I use. I'm sorry. And depending on what service you use, I know Ustream has one that's like a more high-end weird stuff. What did it say? This screen, full screen. Ustream has something where you can do a more high-end quality. So say if you do have the horsepower and you do have the cameras and you really want to push HD. Justin TV has it too, and I think you have to use it on some of these services if you want to be served on the iPhone, say. It's often a separate software program. I know Wirecast, again, I'm just experimenting with Wirecast personally to see if it's a better fit for us. But usually it's another software program running, and it's again, I've offloaded. One of the reasons I have so many computers other than the Skype stuff is so I can have my show notes over here, whatever websites that we're talking about over here on this other computer, so it's not interfering with what's going on this computer that's trying to capture video. You don't want to mess with that because that's your source, that's your prime source when you post edit later. And then one thing with points, you don't need to post edit. If you have good audio coming in that you're happy with live, maybe if you just have a really good mic that has no background noise, it's not concerned, or you have a compressor that takes all that out for you, which I've decided that I need to do because the post editing on my stuff is ridiculous because I have to do noise reducing and everything I always have. Because all I have is boards like this, microphone. I'm in the basement, so you hear pipes or whatever. Or maybe your laundry's running, who knows? But yeah, with Boinks, it'll, all your editing's done. Maybe you'll have some gaps. Maybe you want to go back and edit it, but you could use Movie Maker, And as you want a little bit more, get Final Cut what do they call it? Whatever, Final Cut later, or Premiere Elements, or whatever those like $100 versions are. And if you decide you need even more, I have Final Cut Pro Studio because that's what I use at work. That's what I'm familiar with, and that's half my graphics for this because I don't have time are driven from templates. I do a lot more motion video title work in my day job, but it's hard to fit that stuff in. So. And that's the other concern, as you try to do more in-depth stuff, is time, because a lot of it is time restraints, especially for us. We do kind of news-based discussions, tech news, wrestling. We're talking about Monday Night Raw the night before. You're not going to really want to talk about Monday Night Raw when it's Thursday, maybe, because most of our hits are on Wednesday after we post the show. Again, awesome cast. It's technology news. Maybe there was a keynote on Tuesday, and we talk about it, and maybe you don't want to hear about it 3 days later. Some people do. Some people watch it right before the next show. But for me, that's why I take the time Tuesday nights and edit it then and push it out there. So, does anybody have any questions or anything else they'd like me to cover during this? I know I'm concentrating mostly on one basis software and technique. So if there's any kind of offshoot stuff that you guys were interested in, please let me know. Let's see. Aside from that, Skype. Skype's not the only option. I actually had one somebody brought up to me earlier, but I think it's a pay service. They have a free version of that too, don't they? It was called Sister, but there's a bunch of them. You could use even TalkBox and screen capture that if you wanted. You could use iChat if you had a screen capture program like this Cam Twist. You could use GoToMeet. I was talking to somebody yesterday. I was like, I don't see any reason why you couldn't use a GoToMeeting software that you always hear about on Leo's show. Stickcam,
Tiny Chat.
What's that?
Tiny Chat.
Tiny Chat. There's one show, really cool concept, I think. It's called thestream.net. I'll actually pull it up here. They came on my radar because one of their shows ended up on Revision 3, called The Game Show. Now, I hope they didn't go down because I haven't seen their show up for a while. But they do kind of the same concept where they have a live chat room. They're filming live, switching live. They, of course, have way more budget than I do. Maybe. But they would, I know for the game show, it would be, 3 people sitting around. They have a camera on each one. You have a live chat. They're responding to the chat room, going through it, and they're drinking at the time. So that's interesting, too. But basically, they do that for maybe an hour, hour and a half on Friday nights, and somebody goes back there and cuts it down to a half-an-hour show without all the filler, I guess, drunken rants or whatever, and makes it a tight product that, I can download on Monday morning and, just watch, something just nice and tighter. Yes, they did go down. Or the internet did.
Stream.tv, but their site is down.
Oh, is it?
Because I see the game show listed on
Okay.
Weekly news schedule. Yeah.
Yeah, there they are. I guess they did. So, some other cool stuff. So kind of more in depth Revision 3. I mean, I think they have all kinds of stuff. One of the ideas from it's the Pen Point, which is basically Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller. This is kind of the concept, like we talked about. It doesn't matter what kind of cameras you have as long as the personality comes through. They could be using the crappiest webcam, but people listen to Penn Jillette talk because he's an interesting talker. That's why bullshit is so popular, right? But it's literally, he has 2 cameras set up, probably, way better cameras than even this. and then he has a flip cam, which if you're nauseous, easy from watching video, don't watch that part. And he's going around to each of them and everything, and somebody sits there and edits that together, and it's a show. He puts it out 5 days a week, which is probably just him sitting there spouting off on a Saturday morning about 5 different topics, and they edit together, put the ads in, bam, you got a show. Or you can sit on a couch, like those guys that have 3,000 people watch their live shows down in South by Southwest or whatever. So, there's really countless things you can do. Be original is the biggest thing, because I've had this discussion recently. Like, okay, my show. I'm obviously influenced by Leo Laporte's setup on Twit, and as far as the presentation, I help do a little more twist on it. I'd like to do something a little more interesting if I find I have the budget for it at some time. But it can look like that. It can be like, well, that looks like a Twit clone. The Tech Buzz is a great show. They just had Steve Wozniak on this week. They have a bunch of different personalities on there. Good talk, great chat room. I actually prefer it because in the Twitch chat room, there's just way too many people talking. You can't get a word in edgewise. But if there's one thing you can say about that show is it looks like Twit. And there's a lot of shows that are emulating that. So what are you going to do differently? Whether it be playing with graphics in voice TV or Wirecast, or you can't play too much with the format of going the talking head CNN display, or you could maybe find a new genre in that. Please steal my ideas. But what else they got here? I don't know. That's basically off the top of my head. I think that's a lot of what I do to get a show together. At least live on the spot there. So we're going to be doing in a little bit here a live version of the Awesome Cast. We're going to have some people sit up here. I'm going to be switching camera. I will have it on the screen. Hopefully, if this works out, so you can kind of see the process as that goes. And yeah. Anything else? Anything you guys wanted to know, or?
Can you, instead of using the camera, can you actually bring in like a video and use a prefab video?
Yes. I found it got a little unstable when I did it, but there's definitely ways to do it. Ustream, they have a pretty cool thing where you can just put a link to a YouTube video and bring it in Ustream and move it around. Again, depending on the browser you're using, sometimes it's unstable. But if, I don't think I can use Ustream on Chrome, for instance. I'm sure it works fine in Internet Explorer, but obviously I'm on a Mac, so I can't really experiment with that. But a lot of those guys have really cool features like that. But no, for this, as long as not a goofy format, make sure it's an AVI, make sure it's a MOV, don't throw DivX video in there or something like that, or the video from your phone, the .gp3s or 3ps or something like that. Make sure it's a good thing, because the more compression your computer has to do, is the more cycles getting taken away from the CPU in the long run. But yeah, it's definitely a way. Like for us, I just again, like I said, I'm passing through desktops through the camera. I just pull it up on a different computer. Just it's easier that way. Except for this camera, for some reason, everything goes black and white when I put through it. But that's what I get for getting used. But it adds a lot to it. I don't know if anybody, you can look up Hulk Hogan and PodCamp. I think this video is going to come up where we brought up where he was tweeting last week he was doped up on whatever painkillers from his back surgery, and it was on the toilet or something, and tweeted the video. Well, there's my childhood hero. There we go. And then it turned around into a good demonstration piece, and the wrestle fan from Texas I mentioned earlier was like, this is why you need to go to PodCamp to realize why this is wrong. That kind of on the spot stuff. I'm able to pull up. Did you see the YouTube video last week of so and so talking? Getting high and talking about how WWE sucks. Follow London. If anybody's curious, look it up. We can pull that up on the fly. Our show is really based on, we have a skeleton for the show, this conversation, and whatever develops, whatever jokes come up on the fly. And you know, like, I think I got a great bunch of personalities in there that gel with each other, and that's the important thing there for our kind of show. Then, which is really great, and we talked about this in podcasting, I think yesterday, is like, you know, or no, in the sense, the Still Here panel. You got people to gel with. You don't have to show up 100% every week, because I know it's really tough to make sure, like for us, that we're all awake and not having a shitty day at our job and everything on a Tuesday night and want to talk about wrestling, you know, because it's wrestling, it's easier. But, you know, if there's 4 of us, then, you know, somebody can kind of step back and just chime in whenever, you know, it fits, you know. You guys can all kind of lean on each other as far as that goes. Or if somebody drops off, one guy has to go, you know, the kid has to go college shopping this Tuesday, college fairing this Tuesday, or somebody has a date at the Mets game up in New York. He's like, yeah, fine, we got 3 other people. We're bringing guests in from the chat room now, because, you know, people for the most part can figure out Skype. You know, you're already listening to our show online. They're halfway there. So it's really helped with their interactivity, even more so over the years. So.
Can you pull another side up? Would you?
What do you want me to
Can
pull
you pull
up?
side up?
What do you want?
You have to, okay. Pull up bikerbimbos.com and then, I know.
Are you sure? Are you sure the school's going to let me do that?
I don't know. Let's see.
Bikerbimbos.com. That's it?
Yeah, you should see his, the setup he's got.
Oh, and they're still using Shoutcast. That's what I used to use when I did streaming radio.
So he's like, he was just texting me that he's watching you guys. He's, I was asking him if he's in the studio, but he's watching what you're doing now. He's out of Tampa.
Oh, there you go. There he is. And these guys, do they stream their radio show?
I think so. That's kind of why I'm here,
Okay.
to help them.
The guys, they were here last year. The Freak Show guys from KISS did a session last year talking about this, where you know they do radio shows, terrestrial radios, whatever, and they do a live Ustream like we do, just to see them in the studio. I mean, you know, when you first think about it, it's like, do I really want to just watch a person in front of a microphone?
Well,
But
look at,
it
he's
adds
got
to it.
5 different cameras going on, shots all around the room.
Oh, he has like a switcher and everything going on.
If you can watch it for a second, I'm telling you, he's got it really cool going on.
And this is something that, you know, the old school radio's, you know, starting to figure out. You know, CNET does a bunch of shows, and all it is a bunch of people around computers with microphones in their faces talking about, you know, the news for the day, or you know, comic books and everything. But it's you know,
It's in a studio room about this big,
yeah.
and the cameras go all around, and they all sit. And
Who has a show? Does somebody have a show locally, like on My Network TV or something? One of the I can't. Bob and Tom, I think, had a video show on TV somewhere, didn't they? Yeah. Imus in the Morning. Imus in the Morning on MSNBC. They used to just stick him on for like, you know, however long his show was, and it's just him with a microphone in his face. And now, you know, they're doing that with CNET and you know, and Twit and everything. And it's, you know, it's so low cost. You know, it's video, it's low cost, and you can get it on your Roku player. There's another angle I forgot about. I use Flip TV for my distribution. You can get on it for free. They have an $8 a month plan to get a little bit more features. Make sure it converts it for you, so you don't have to worry about that mess. And make sure it works on iPods and all these other formats. There are other services like it, but it's the one I prefer. It's the one that I've seen that kind of fits my situation. It's blocked, really? Or
Yeah, content
Yeah.
did
block.
the internet go down?
No, you're being blocked.
It's blocked, yeah.
I guess if somebody's got some naughty stuff, probably my show. But they have revenue sharing. They have a deal with Tube Mobile, where they will distribute your show. Basically, I upload a show. I check everything I want. It gets put on YouTube. It gets put to iTunes. They help set you up for that. And also the Roku player and Boxy, which Boxy is coming up with a desktop or not desktop, a TV box, that you can hook up. And this is a really big thing because everybody's trying to get Netflix streaming on their TV, and these are getting packaged in the box, even on some Blu-ray players, I think, right beside it. And my shows are on television.
Do you think with equipment like that, like the Boxy player and Roku, if you got your show on those and you had that sort of access, do you think that you lose the interaction though on the other end, where you're not going to be able to have somebody in front of a laptop communicating with you?
Well, I think it's two sides to that. I get 10 to 15 people, sometimes up to 30 people in the chat room interacting, but I still get over 600 people downloading it every week. So there's two sides of it. I listen to This Week in Tech on Monday. They record Sunday night. Obviously, I'm busy Sunday night. You don't have to be interactive. You're only going to get a small percentage. I think they said like 5%, 1%, whatever, will actually respond to you. We have about, on average, 5 fan mails every week from consistent people chiming in. There are shows with huge numbers. The 404, for instance, they have to have thousands of people, and they'll be like, "Yeah, we got no voicemails today. Sorry, guys. We don't have really any fan mails that are worth anything, and not if at all." And they're getting thousands of people. It's going to be that percentage that's not going to be participating. They just want to be, the lurker to the point, which is, if you're watching TV, you're the lurker, and this is just another venue for that kind of thing. So I don't think it takes away at all. I think it adds to the numbers. I think it's a number that you need to figure in. It can be duplicated because they may also download later because maybe they have watched it. I do an hour and a half to 2 hour show. They can't chime in for that entire time because they're taking a block out of whatever they're doing. And sometimes it does. It's like its own built-in DVR depending on how you use it. So, and that's why I am trying to put it on as many venues as I can, not just iTunes. So we were talking the other day. iTunes was the biggest thing for podcasts because everybody, has an iPod. It's the most consistent thing. And I know you have a damn Android phone. Okay.
Right. I don't own an Apple device.
How do you track your stats across all of the the broad spectrum?
Well, it's pretty much split between my audio site on TalkShoe and Blip has. I can show it. Blip has a really good stats deal built in. I wish I had that for my audio cast. I would have been able to do so much more monetization if I did. But now I'm building the video. So, but when I get video up there, and these shows that I'm starting as video, I can show that at least. And like, oh, by the way, we do an audio version too, and it's got this many. But you can see where they're watching them. Most of them are iTunes or YouTube for me. How long they're watching it, unless it's a download, obviously that's not going to be factored in. What regions, all that stuff. Just like if you're in YouTube, and then you have insights built in for YouTube.
How did you get around the time requirement with YouTube?
Yeah, that's a funny story. Back in the day, I signed up when they could let you. Basically, you could get a director account. You can still do it now, but it's different. What director accounts meant then was you get an unlimited upload, like a size, but not length.
Right.
They don't let anybody sign up for that anymore unless you're somebody big, like Leo Laporte or CNET or something.
That's the problem with the bitch slap. I couldn't even put it on YouTube.
If you look, and I hate because I can't change his name because I used to use I have an Insane Clown Posse fan site, so my username was SPS Juggalo. I won't tell you what SPS stands for. And the PodCamp video, the session videos are on that account. And it took me a long time. It's like, I just got to get them on YouTube. All these shows are on YouTube. But the fun thing about that is, then you can go in YouTube and create lists, and they can subscribe to that list, and you got a one-stop shop for your show. So say if you were lucky enough to get one of those accounts, you can kind of manipulate this whole process and have separate. I actually implemented this a couple weeks ago, where I have a Wrestling Mayhem show channel, It's kind of about securing your brand. I'm sure Steven talked about yesterday. You want to make sure you have. I have YouTube.com/Wrestling Mayhem Show. I have Facebook.com/Wrestling Mayhem Show, and they can get the videos on there too, which are linked to YouTube or whatever. But still, if you're on Facebook, you don't care. You just want it in your Facebook coming to you.
So to get around the time requirement, you split it into like 10-minute segments, and then
That's the
put it
other
together
option.
in a playlist.
That's the other option. No. This is an hour and a half video, but it's on my director account.
Okay.
I just have these are playlists pointing to that. Just like when you favorite a video and everything, it's on that favorite playlist. I say I have a Wrestling Mayhem Show episodes playlist. I have whatever other crap we did for that show. That's Chachi's show. I don't do it. It's independent because it's only like a 5-minute video by design. That was just a content decision. That wasn't a length decision. And there's other services like Vimeo. I think they charge for more of the high-end features, but if your professionals use it, I've kind of been hard to justify what I get for it. I'm more concerned with getting on YouTube, just like everybody's on Facebook, everybody's on YouTube.
That's what I
That's the big concern for me is getting it in front of eyeballs. I don't care where it is. I want to control where it goes and how it looks, but I'm just concerned with you finding it. And if we say, hey, we're on this, and this, maybe they'll find you on the other thing. Maybe they'll say, oh, I use iTunes too. Well, if I can deliver that, which that's nice because they load up their iTunes. You got a new show gets downloaded, and they have it on their computer right there sitting for them after however long it takes to download. So, what time is it? I should don't log, huh? Well, I guess we should wrap up here. Any last questions before we go? I'm at Sorgatron. I think I'm on the contact sheet for Podcamper or something. Sorgatronmedia.com. Of course, I do have business cards up here if you want one. If you have any further questions about any of this stuff, or stuff you run into a week from now, a month from now, I don't care. Hit me up, DM me, email me, MikeSorg@gmail.com. And I'll help you out. I throw podcasters on my show for the wrestling show when they don't even have anything to do with wrestling. It's all about community, guys. So.